welcome to Gaga Knits. My name's Anita and this is where I like to share my knitting, sewing and crafty life in general. I hope you've had a nice week since we last spoke. I try and record and upload an episode every Sunday and I'm doing quite well with that at the moment. I have some knitting for you and I have my experience of punch needle. I had a punch needle kit and I've used it for the first time, so I should share that. And then if you follow me on Instagram, gaga.knits, you may have seen I had a little bit of a disaster with my Luna Lapins. They had an attack from the moths and I had to deal with that, so I share that with you. And at the very end, Mr. and Mrs. Mouse, the final instalment, they're back from their honeymoon and they wanted to share some photos with you, and that's it then. I promise I won't be putting any more mouse photos up. So let's get started first with the knitting. I'm knitting the penny jumper by TinCanKnits and I have been working away on it this week. It doesn't look all that much, but I have been working on it quite a lot. There's quite a few stitches. So I've done the ribbing and it's quite interesting because the ribbing isn't a standard 1x1 or 2x2. So you have to do some, it's still knit and purl but in different quantities. It is paid for patterns, so I have to be careful. And then I've changed to the bigger needles, so I think I'm on 4mm needles now. And I'm starting to do the lace work. I can't really, you can see a little bit. Just started, and I've had to raid my stitch marker tin because you have to have lots and lots of stitch markers there. So you have to purl a number of stitches and then you do 6 repeats of the chart A, 1 repeat of chart B, then 6 repeats of chart C, and then you do it all again for the back, so the lace work will be on the front and the back. And it's not difficult, but there are a lot of changes. Now, I was lying in bed this morning thinking, how can I make this easier for myself, because I'm worried I'm going to go wrong and knit the wrong charts. And I remembered I had some alphabet beads and I thought that'd be perfect because I can just, at the beginning of the 6 repeats of the chart A, I could put an A bead, and the same with the B and the C. And then, do you think I could find them? And then I remembered when I was doing all those clear out, tidying up of my craft space or areas, things, because I haven't actually got a craft space, I gave them away. So I've ordered some more on eBay. They should be coming in a few days, and then it'll make it a little bit easier if I can put some little beads just to say which chart I'm on, because guaranteed I'm going to go wrong. It's not difficult, but I don't want the chart to go wrong because the lace work will look a bit strange if, well, I just don't want to go wrong basically, and I usually do. My stitch count is correct, everything's correct. I want it to be spot on. So that's the progress with my knitting. I might put it to one side now for a little while until those beads come, just to be on the safe side. And then we move on to the punch needle. And have any of you done punch needle before? I'm a complete beginner and maybe I should have started with something easier, and I've watched a few videos now and no one seems to have the problem that I'm having, and a lot of the tutorials are with wool and this is with embroidery thread. So I got this kit and I bought this particular one because I thought it was an A, but apparently you buy this kit and inside you've got all the letters and then you just trace the initial that you want to put in the middle. So the kit comes with everything you need. It came with all the threads, but although they were pretty, I did like their threads. I decided to mix them up a bit because I wanted them to match a cushion that I've made, and so I've changed the threads to these ones. Some of them are the threads that came with the kit and some are mine. And it comes with the instructions, obviously. So you get a picture of the actual design which comes on the cloth, and you've got that. It's not to scale, but it tells you the colours of the threads, which ones you should be using. Instructions on how to actually do the punch needle. And then in this box, falling about here. So then in this box you get the punch needle itself and the threader. You actually get 2 threaders. Oh, I don't want to lose them. I don't know if you could see. It's just this fine bit of plastic really for the threader. And you get a little cap to go on the end of the needle just because it's quite sharp. So I've got my thread threaded through, and you have to, let's get the other threader. As soon as I used the first threader, the little white bit of paper came off. That's alright, you don't really need it. So with this, I don't know if you can see, oh my goodness, you won't be able to see, but so it's a loop of plastic, and basically the end of the loop you push through the needle here all the way to the end so it sticks out. Then you thread your embroidery floss through it and then pull it back out so it comes out like this. Then you have to put the threader through the eye of the needle to thread the thread then through the needle. So I've done that, I can do that, not a problem. And I sat here Friday afternoon, all afternoon, and I managed that flower and that leaf because I don't really get it. You push the needle through and it makes a loop on the back, and then you have to push it right through to that bit to make sure it's right to the end, and then you pull it out and only as far as the needle tip, and then you have to push it back in again. And it says in the instructions, because this is Ada fabric, to make sure you're going in the holes, but it's very hard because the holes are on a grid, but your pattern is round, so sometimes you can't go in just in the holes. So I could do a row of little stitches, all very neat, and then I get to one that's a little bit tougher, I push the needle through, and all the stitches that I've just done would come undone, and it would just be like a long tacking stitch. It's really frustrating. And then I discovered if I held the stitch that I had just stitched on the front and back with one hand and put the needle in with the other, that would save the stitch. But then I couldn't get right into the middle with that. And then, so I tried that for a little bit. I did these ones like that, but then I got to the middle, and then I decided to try a new technique. So I had to sort of sit with my feet on the settee and this frame hoop between my knees so that I had both hands free basically. And then if I just held the stitch I had just done with this finger and then punch with the other, that seems to work, but it's not very neat. And there's obviously a technique. It was so frustrating, and then I'd look up a video on how to do it and they'd show you, and I was doing everything they said and no one mentioned that this was, I looked up punch needle tips and things that could go wrong, and they were showing things like you hadn't done the frame up tight enough and things like that, but or there was a knot in the thread, but no one seemed to get these long tacking stitches. But it is a bit messy. I'm going to persevere. Now I've sort of sussed out that technique, hold the previous stitch and carry on punching. I'll do it, but I don't know if I'm going to be doing any more of these. And it's not really the actual craft itself fault. It's obviously I could put more and more time into it and get better, but I don't really want to. I'll have a go at it. I can enter it into Anne from No Excuses podcast Makealong, so it's the hashtag NE something new in 24 or craft more in 24, and I'll finish it and I'll enter it into there. I don't even know if it needs to be finished. It might not get finished. I'm not sure. Oh, that's the whole year. I'll finish it by then, so I shall enter it into that, and I'll put it on my wall. I might put it quite high up or somewhere that's in a recess so you don't get too close to see my poor stitching, but at least I gave it a try. And then on this weekend, the weather has been mixed, as it is all over the UK, I think. So we've had sun and we've had rain, and we were having a particularly sunny spell, and I thought it would be a nice idea to paint the swing seat that I bought for my Luna Lapins, Arthur and Beatrice. And I bought it in Home Bargains, which is a sort of discount store here in the UK. Sells a bit of everything, food, crafts, all sorts of things. And I bought this a couple of years ago now, and it's meant to be, it's a bird feeder. So I think you put the bird seed in there. And unfortunately, we can't feed the birds in our garden because we have the woods behind us. And if we feed birds, we get rats. So I bought this for Luna, for Arthur and Beatrice. And so I wanted to take a picture, a before and after picture, basically, so I could show you. And I hung the seat up with them in. They're hanging usually in Martin's office, because it used to be my craft room. And not hanging, they're sitting on a shelf on their seat. And they've been there for quite a while. So I brought them down and I hung them outside to take the photo of the before. Then I took them off, and the inside of the seat, so all this, had little sort of black flecks in. I thought, what's that? And they had a little pillow behind them, and I thought, oh, I wonder if it's the lavender, sort of the lavender dust out of that. And then I thought, I bought this little pillow as a little quilt and pillow, someone had handmade it, and I thought, it's not one I made, because I usually put lavender in them. I thought, it hasn't got lavender in it, it's got foam, so it wasn't the lavender. And then I looked at their clothes, particularly Arthur's jumper, and that had all little bits on as well. And I thought, what's that? And then I realised it was from Moths. And if you've made a Luna Lapin and you've used the wool felt, check them, because Moths obviously love the taste of wool felt, because poor old Arthur, he had been well and truly munched on, and they're in the freezer at the moment. I did put some pictures on Instagram, and I have done some little videos. So once I realised they were covered in, I think it's moth poo, because I think they've been eaten and gone. So I had to strip their clothes off, and then I saw poor old Arthur's back has all been munched all up his back. So I gave them a little bath in the sink. Then they quite like that. Dried them out. They didn't like being hung on the line by their ears, but it was a sunny day and I wanted to dry them off. And then I packed them in the bag and I put them in the freezer. I'll go and get them now. I'm going to see how well they're doing. Here they are, frozen, rock rock solid. I was asked on Instagram why I was freezing them, but I have seen other people say to freeze things. Oh, we stuck together. Come on, Arthur. Oh, he's a bit stiff. And I think, look at his back. Oh, on my lap, they're freezing. Let me put them. So that's Arthur. Come on, Beatrice. Drop those legs. She wasn't too bad. She had a little bit of damage here. That's not moth damage, that's actually Jack damage, my grandson, when he was a bit younger. They definitely aren't toys. You can't really play roughly with them. Although my older grandson Harry used to play with Arthur all the time and tie him in knots and slide him down the stairs, and he was fine. But he survived, Harry, but not the moth. So I'm going to have to patch him up. So I think he might look quite cute. I might put like a fabric patch and then some sort of little stitches around that, and then he might look like, well, a moth-eaten teddy, really, because that's what he is. Can you hear their legs? Rock solid. So they have been in the freezer, so hopefully there's no moths left on those. His jumper, frozen solid. The dress just loose. And his trousers. I might make them some more clothes. I think they deserve it after the ordeal they've gone through. And that was the cushion. So hopefully now they are moth free. I will fix them and keep them, because Arthur was the first one I made, and they're lovely to make. So I'm going to paint this with my leftover paint. It's English Sage from Wilko's, furniture and cupboard paint. It was the same paint I used to paint my dresser, and there's hardly any left, but I'm thinking you don't need a huge amount for that, do you? So hopefully I'll have enough, and I'll paint that. I do have some white, or some almond or something it's called. I could perhaps mix a bit to get it a bit more, and then it will just be a lighter colour, but we'll see. And then I plan to change the rope over for some macrame wool, cotton wool. Now I have made some macrame plant hangers. There's one there, that was in the mustard, and I've also got the green, which will be the same as the tin. And then I think I've got a whole one of these. I don't think I opened this at all. So I might mix the three, or I might use one or other. What do you think? Should I have matchy, or should I use one of the others? And I thought as well that they had drilled a hole right through these, but they've just sort of stopped the string there with a screw. So I don't know whether to do the same thing, or whether to maybe drill that one through, but not, I don't know, we'll have to sort things out. So yes, that was a bit of a shock this weekend, and sorting them out. And then lastly, it's just Mr. and Mrs. Mouse. So I'm joining in the Makealong with Helen from Mousie Makes, and it is called the Makealong Makealong. I always forget, but I will put it on the screen. And so I made Mr. and Mrs. Mouse and did a little video, and that was well received. So then they went on their honeymoon and put a little video up of that. And now this week they're back from their honeymoon, so they wanted to say hello and a final goodbye to you all. And it's just a bit of fun to join in with Helen. And I did the videos because that's the type of thing she does on her channel, but obviously much more professionally than me. But it doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter if you're not very good at something. If you enjoy doing it, just do it. It doesn't matter. Anyway, have a lovely week, whatever you're doing. I'm really excited. Next week I'm going to see Pink with my daughter in Cardiff, so I'm really looking forward to that. And the rest of the week, I'm sure there'll be some crafting involved. So enjoy whatever you're doing. Let me know what you're doing in the comments. Always like to hear from you. And I shall see you next week. Bye.
Mr. and Mrs. Mouse are back from their honeymoon. What a pretty pinny, Mrs. Mouse. Mrs. Mouse has something special she'd like to share with us. What is it, Mrs. Mouse? Oh, congratulations. And they all lived happily ever after.